Welcome to Data Viz Daily. I'm Kevin McGinley, and today I want to talk a little bit about sort of visualization selection and what you can do from the standpoint of making better choices from a visualization standpoint. Now, let me, before I go off on this at all, I want to explain that there are a lot of varying opinions on this, and while there are some people who specialize this is their field, they study it, they've got a lot of good insight on it, a lot of good research on it. There is a certain amount of this that is somewhat aesthetic. We all have sort of different opinions about what looks good and what doesn't. So there is a combination of both science and art here that I want to kind of point out before I get too far into this, because there are definitely people who agree with some of the scientific aspects of it, and then there are other people who have differing opinions from an artistic standpoint. So that being said, there are lots of great resources out there about people who think about visualization a lot and study visualization, so I encourage you to go looking for that. But I'm also going to use the sort of story navigator here to kind of point out a couple things. And so the first one that I want to talk about is the sort of idea of circles versus bars. One of the things you'll see a lot in visualization sort of study and opinions are that circles are actually a very horrible way to visualize data. There's a lot of science that supports why it's easier for us to see bars or rectangles to reference data than it is to view it sort of in a circular fashion. And so what I did here is I've got a data set here that's video game sales over the last 20 years. We've got a number of attributes that you'll see here, and I've got it, a pie chart, donut chart. We've got a bar radar chart here, so I'm kind of combining both the bar and the circular notion. And then we've got just a traditional sort of sorted bar chart. And the key thing to note here about the bar chart is that it's sorted. Whenever you're using bar charts, it is a good idea to sort the bar chart because it makes records stand out more cleanly. So we can see here very easily which ones are sort of the top selling and which ones are the lowest selling. What makes the circle so hard here is that there are a lot of series values in this particular visualization. We're using platform here, gaming platform, as the attribute, and it really makes things hard to see from sort of a variability perspective. Plus, there's really no ordering at all to the slices in either the pie or the donut. Within the bar, we do get the bar effect, but the way the bar is laid out and the way the labels are shown and presented, plus the sort of varying degrees here of the sort of inside the circle versus the outer part of the circle, it does really make it hard to see. So generally speaking, where you can, bars are always better over circles. So, you may ask the question, well, what if we have fewer series? So I replaced platform with genre here to reduce the number of series, and while we brought it down a little bit and this makes the pie charts more easily readable, they're still much harder to see than the bar chart over here. The bar chart gives us a very clean sort of delineation that action is the highest, strategy is the lowest. It's very easy to see sort of all the in-betweens and where they sort of relate against each other. Where, in these visualization, again, there's really no ordering to any of this. The sort of bar radar a little bit easier to see, but still not, super clean related to the bar chart. So again, even if you have fewer series, that will certainly make pie charts and donut charts easier to read. But ultimately, the best way to view it is in a bar chart. So moving on, what if we have many series? How do we look at that? So in this data set, and sorry, my label's getting clipped off here, but we have 16,598 games that were sold over this 20-year period. And, if I want to compare the sort of North America sales with Japanese sales and try to understand, well, which games have sort of, high in both North America or Japan, or which games are popular in North America but not Japan, or vice versa, how would I do that? A bar chart trying to list 16,598 items, it's not going to work so well. So what can I do? Well, the first thing that you're going to want to look at is the scatter plot. So a scatter plot is a great way to plot two metrics, two dimensions against each other, and it makes it really easy for us to see here that, hey, Super Mario Brothers popular in both countries. Something like Pokemon, very popular in Japan, not quite as popular in North America. games like Duck Hunt and Grand Theft Auto 5, very popular in the States, not as popular in Japan. So that makes it really easy. But the next part of the equation is, well, what if we have more than 2 dimensions? What if we actually have 3 dimensions? What can we do here? And there's sort of 2 approaches that you can take with this visualization, and that's color versus size. And apologies here that my visualization is not refreshing quickly. There we go. So what we're doing on the left is we're actually showing a larger dot, or we're controlling the size of the dot based on European sales. So we're still plotting North America, Japanese sales there, but we've got European sales as our sort of 3rd dimension. And here you can see that something like Grand Theft Auto, very popular in Europe, even though it wasn't as popular in Japan. And we can see the same thing over here from a color density. Where the sort of color versus size debate comes in is going to be largely a determinant around how your data is arranged. And this is where you might need to switch between them pretty easily, and how this tool makes it pretty simple to do so. So, in this instance, if we're starting to look at sort of color shading, it's a little bit easier to see color shading versus size when we've got a lot of points that are right on top of each other. So if you're looking over here, it gets really hard to determine the difference between size. Where color does start to stand out, it still may be hard to find the exact dot that you're looking for from a hover perspective. That's where filtering would come in to reduce the number of values that we're looking at. But color can sometimes be better than size. But if you're looking at just sheerly, some of the outside the sort of general cluster here, it's really easy to see that Grand Theft Auto has a pretty strong density. It's easy to see over here as well, given that it's a much darker yellow than the rest. And where the sort of variances between these different shades of darker yellow come in, definitely is a challenging thing to see. But size and color are your best options, when looking there. But it is going to depend on how your data is laid out. So that's a first take at some examples of how you can choose the right visualization depending on how your data is structured and what type of question you're trying to answer. This is a recurring topic that I'll dive into in many future episodes. There's not really an end to this discussion in my mind, because there are always a lot of different situations in which your data will demand a different type of visualization. Even if a certain type of visualization is generically speaking the best choice, you might make different choices just because of how your data exists. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.